no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Today's show presented by Magic Spoon. What I want you guys to do is go on over to magicspoon.com/Raiders. And if you want the hookup, I got you covered. I want you to comment Magic Spoon down below. So today's show is going to be around the three players that the Las Vegas Raiders decided to move on from. If you guys remember, they had to get down to the 80-man roster by 4 p.m. Eastern time today. They made a few moves yesterday, which don't worry, we'll cover those as well. But we're also going to break down the three roster moves that they decided to go with today. And the first one that ended up happening, I was a little bit surprised, I'm not going to lie. It was Marcell Ateman, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State. I mean, I can remember the day that they drafted him in the 7th round, and he's been a player that's had some ups, he's had some downs, and back in 2018, he actually got a little bit of playing time, been more of a practice squad guy the last 2 years, but this isn't so much to do with Marcell Ateman, and I want everyone to watch that's realizing this. This is more to do with that the Raiders roster, that the Raiders wide receiver room is getting a lot better. Now, he had a pretty good game this past week against the Rams. 2 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. He was actually one of my winners. I liked what I saw from him. Nathan Peterman hit him on a last-minute touchdown kind of thing. But, I mean, again, this is nothing really to do with Ateman. I anticipate the Raiders keeping 6 wide receivers on this 53-man. Maybe they decide to keep a few other dudes, but, like, you're still looking at a bigger receiver that's a little bit slower. I think this is also good news for somebody like Bryan Edwards, who is, again, a little bit bigger. He's been healthy. I wish Marcell Ateman the best of luck. This has always been somebody that's worked his freaking tail off, but it is part of the business here, and it's part of my job to be able to talk about it. So here's a fun little question, because anytime we talk about cuts, I get depressed, because at the end of the day, it's like somebody that's trying to work so hard that their dream, it's kind of ending in a certain degree. So let's try to cheer up the mood here a little bit, right? When did you go to your first Raiders game? Can you remember it? Was it with your dad? Was it with your mom? Did you go by yourself? Did you take your son or daughter? I want every single person down in the comments. If you just want to put a year, please go ahead and do so. The first Raiders game I ever went to, Monday Night Football up against the Denver Broncos, 2019. Something I will never, ever forget. Let's go to the next guy that was released today by the Las Vegas Raiders, Darius Stills, the defensive tackle from West Virginia. This one breaks my heart a little bit, because I've talked to Stills a few times on Instagram. I've talked to him a few times on Twitter as well. And he was somebody that I was really, really pulling for. The UDFA out of West Virginia, really, it comes down to he couldn't stay healthy. As soon as the Raiders signed Stills this offseason after not getting drafted, I was like, this guy's really good. He has a chance to make this team. You heard multiple players like Cleveland Ferrell, Yannick Ngakoue, Max Crosby all talk about his quick twitch muscles, how he's actually playing pretty well in training camp. The issue has been over the last 2 weeks, my man Stills has not really been able to get on the field, and other players are passing him. Like Darius Philon has been an absolute monster. Kendall Vickers has actually fallen down the depth chart a little bit. The Raiders went out and signed Gerald McCoy, and when you really think about it, I see them keeping 6 defensive tackles. The top 4 guys, I don't think they're going to keep Scott, but you're probably going to keep Jefferson, Thomas, Hankins. It seems like they're going to keep Philon. I could see them keeping Gerald McCoy, and if they do decide to keep 6, then they're probably going to keep Kendall Vickers, who made their 53-man roster last year. It just comes down to extra depth, and the young guy could not quite stay healthy. Though, just because these players are getting released right now, that does not mean that they have a 0% chance of making the practice squad. It's a little bit farther fetched than if they would have made it through this round of cuts. But if Stills can get healthy, there is going to be some teams, maybe even the Raiders, that at least give him a call, because he does have some talent. He just needs to get healthy. If you're trying to get healthy, and let's face it, that's just kind of the world we live in now. We don't really know what's in our food. Luckily for you, Magic Spoon, you know exactly what's in it. High quality ingredients. Go to magicspoon.com/Raiders, and if you can't remember that link, it's in the comments, it's in the description. I don't want you to forget it. Here's my pro tip for everyone out there right now. If you're wondering, Mitch, should I go ahead and try Magic Spoon? My answer to that is yes. Yes, you should. But then you should also go out and get the variety of 4-pack. Why should you do that? And variety, it's usually better. So what I've been doing is I get the variety 4-pack, maybe get some peanut butter, maybe get some cocoa, get some frosted, fruity, whatever the hell I want. But if you really want to be smart, go ahead and combine like the cocoa and peanut butter. Go ahead and combine the cocoa and then the frosted. You can make different kinds of cereal flavors. That's just a pro tip. Now, Magic Spoon's so confident that you guys are going to freaking love this cereal. It's 100% money back guarantee. Imagine when the Raiders signed Trent Brown. If we could get 100% money back guarantee. Hell, maybe we should have given Trent Brown some Magic Spoon. Bottom line is this stuff is healthy cereal. It tastes unbelievable, and it's at magicspoon.com/Raiders. Make sure you guys go grab a box. Maybe grab 4. Make sure you tell them that Raider Nation sent you. All right, let's go to this next guy here that ended up getting released. Darron Lee. When Lee was actually signed by the Raiders this offseason, I actually thought that he had a really good chance to make the roster. Another player that's been banged up with some injuries, and other guys have stepped up. Now, he didn't play in Week 2 preseason game, been battling an injury himself, though it was reported that he was expected back this week. I'm curious to find out if whether or not he is 100% healthy. Maybe that's why they decided to move on from him. But Lee was a first-round pick. He had tons of talent, and one of the reasons why I was excited to see what he could do in a Gus Bradley system was because he is athletic, and he's always been able to run, and he's always been a pretty good sideline-to-sideline linebacker. Lee's two biggest issues were he hasn't really been the smartest player, I'll say that. And then the other aspect is he just never has been able to stay healthy. So I get the fact that he's 26 years old. But I will say the fact that the Raiders are moving on from Lee, I hate saying like that it gives me confidence, but it actually gives me more confidence in some of these other linebackers like Nicholas Morrow. Because if you're worried about Morrow's injury, if you're worried about Nick Wachowski's injury, then why the hell would you move on from Lee? This tells me that those are some good signs there. We're still waiting to be able to find out what happens with Javen White. Fingers crossed on that one. But, man, at the end of the day, like, Lee, he's the last guy to get moved on here to get down to the 80-man roster. So out of the 3 roster cuts that the Raiders made today on August 24th, which one was, like, the most surprising to you? Was it Marcell Ateman? I want you to go down in the comments and type MA. If you're new to the Raiders Report, what do here? We break down the latest news and rumors, plus we try to keep you guys fun, interactive shows. Like, that's what we do. Or do you think it was Darius Stills? Type DS. If you think it's Darron Lee, I want you to type DL. The most shocking cut for me, as it stands right now, I will actually go ahead and I'll say Lee simply because of all the linebacking injuries that we had. If you're watching this live right now, I am seeing a lot of DS's and MAs, which doesn't really surprise me because I know Marcell Ateman's been a fan favorite. I know Darius Stills been a fan favorite, but it really comes down to Lee simply because of the lack of depth due to some injuries. But I will say I was actually kind of surprised that all 3 of these players were released today. Now, if you live underneath a rock, if you don't know what the Raiders Report is, maybe you didn't know that Rasul Douglas, Parker Anger, and then Corliss Waitman, were released yesterday. If you didn't know that, another reason to subscribe to the Raiders Report. We go live every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to have a good time, if you want to be able to join a show, this is the best personal time to do it. But also, we try to keep you guys up to date on everything going on around the Silver and Black. We take a lot of pride around here being able to be the #1 most watched Raiders show in the entire world. And what it comes with that? Working our freaking tails off. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and do so. Click that big red button that says subscribe. All right, let's go to somebody that was signed yesterday. And the reason why this is important is because, again, the Raiders had to get down to that 80-man roster by today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Yesterday, they cut 3 players, but then they added a guy. So I was like, all right, they still got to get rid of 3 more dudes, which I said yesterday. But what's really interesting here about Devery Hamilton, he's an absolute brainiac. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, he went to Stanford for 4 years. Then he ended up going to Duke for a year. But he's a big old offensive tackle. I really think that he has at least a halfway decent shot of making the practice squad. I don't think he's going to make the final 53-man roster, but the fact that the Raiders decided to bring this guy back, because remember, he didn't get drafted. He was a UDFA out of Duke. The Raiders signed him, and then the Raiders let him go, and now they brought him back, right? A lot of moving parts here. But as bad as what the Raiders' backup offensive linemen have been, I am really genuinely curious what Hamilton does in this situation. Does he take advantage of it? Does he outplay Jared Jones? Does he outplay somebody like Brandon Parker? What about Omar? There's just so many offensive linemen right now for the Raiders that have really, really been struggling. So hopefully Devery Hamilton can get it together. Now, what I always predicate myself on is being as available as possible to Raider Nation. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit me up on IG. I'm at MitchellRenz365. My DMs, they're open for a reason. preseason. I want to be able to talk to you guys going on with anything going on in your personal life, anything going on with Raider Nation. If you have a question about a show, if you want to pitch me a show idea, believe me, they're open for a reason, and they're open for you. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram at MitchellRents365. So we got preseason week 3. It's kind of weird. Right around the corner. And I know that the Raiders aren't in the Bay, but this will always, in my opinion, be Battle of the Bay. Though, I think we all know who actually owns the Bay, right? And I will say this. Earlier in the week, I told everyone to go yell at Chase Sr. on Instagram. Go yell at him on Twitter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to be doing a watch party this weekend with Chase. It's going to be a Raiders and 49ers joint watch party on one screen. I hope you guys can tune in. I hope you guys can watch it. It's going to be Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So for everyone watching on the West Coast, 1 p.m. Pacific. But the reason why I want to give you guys a shout out is because Chase showed me a screenshot of like 50 people that went to his DMs and were like, F you, go Raiders, the Raiders own the Bay. If you guys could continue to do that for me, dude, that puts a smile on my face, because I always think it's funny when we're hiring these new people. I'm like, wait until you see how Raider Nation gets down. So if you guys haven't already, go hit him up on Instagram. He's at Chase_Senior. Go tell him who actually owns the Bay. So the other reason why I wanted to be able to bring this up here is because anytime you talk about roster cuts, you could also bring up guys that maybe need to step up. Marcell Ateman played pretty well this past week. 2 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. He ended up getting moved on from. Could an injury like Javen White open up something extra for one of these other linebackers? I mean, that remains to be seen, but yet Darron Lee got moved on from. And then you're just talking about the other move, which is forgetting Darius Stills. Maybe Kendall Vickers needs to step up. Are we finally going to see Gerald McCoy? The 53-man roster cuts are next week. Yes, next week we're going to be making tons and tons of videos about it, but this could be the opportunity, the last practice week, where some of these Raiders players battling it out for positions, battling it out for those final roster spots can make it. So let me know down in the comments who needs to step up versus the 49ers this week.